Greetings and thank you for joining us this evening for the reading of Christ's letters. We're beginning letter 7 tonight, so I don't have to do any paging. So just get your letter 7 out, or if you're reading from the original manuscripts, it's letter 5A. Yeah, 5A. So let's just take a moment to just come into the center of our being. Just be totally relaxed. Feel the calm within. If you've just celebrated Thanksgiving, just continue that gratitude of everything. When I run out of things to be grateful for, I come down, I'm grateful for every breath. The newness of life, the release of anything the body no longer needs. And just stay in that flow and intelligence as I breathe. Allow my intellect to be the observer and just silent and still. Nothing for it to process, just to listen, observe. And the heart receives all the truth that it already knows, for it is already the truth of itself. But as the intellect observes and the heart affirms, we get it into our mindset, the way of creating, that Christ is co-creating with us. Just bring us up to bigger ideas, bigger concepts, the courage, the understanding, the education, to bring forth the kingdom of heaven on earth, right here and right now, for everyone individually to experience it. Just feel what that would feel like, to be totally authentic, totally speaking your truth, and allowing and encouraging everyone to speak their truth. And all allow each to believe as they believe, without trying to make anything happen or to fix anything that has not been asked for. Christ's way is a way of peace, of love, of joy. It is the vibrational equilibrium of the universe, is to be in this state of love that judges nothing other than good and perfection, nothing less. So I'm thankful for Christ coming back in 2000, bringing us these letters that we read tonight. And letter 7 isn't especially good, but letter 7 really has a lot. So let's just stay in this vibrational energy of Christ and allow it to reveal from within the Christ within us, the recognition of who and what it is, so that we can live it, breathe it, become it, radiate it more and more. So with the beginning of each new letter, I like to read Christ's introduction to the letters, to the 9 letters that were transcribed in 2000, 2001, with several articles along with them. But this is how he introduces, and I say he because Christ really so takes on the persona of Jesus throughout the 9 letters that I just have that intimate relationship that I know it's Christ yet, but the intimacy that I have is just a more feeling, a more, it's just desirable for me to have that relationship. So I like calling it him because I have that relationship with Jesus anyway. So it's like, yeah, Oh, man. Okay. And I read from Christ Returns Reveals Startling Truth. Christ says, I have come to rectify the misinterpretations placed on the teachings given when known as Jesus in Palestine 2,000 years ago. Christ also says, because people are on the threshold of a world crisis of enormous proportions, it is vital for survival that I, the Christ, should reach all who will listen. Reading my letters gives you the true processes of creation in which you yourselves play a major role. It is imperative you should understand them sufficiently to enable you to embark on the implementation of a higher vision for all humanity, beginning with ourselves, I insert. It is impossible for my spiritual consciousness to take on human form. To enable me to speak to you directly, I've deprogrammed and prepared a receptive, obedient mind to receive my truth and frame it in words. She is my recorder. And she is someone I have such great and high respect for taking these thoughts and put them into words and form that we can understand. And if you look through letter 5 and letter 6, you see a lot of formatting that's very centered and bolding and all kinds of things, because Christ wants to make sure that we get the important things and we think about what we're reading. Reading the letters is good. I really, really, really enjoy this. But the way to get the most is to read along with me is one way. The other is to read them and take a paragraph. Like in letter 5, I got it after this is my 12th year of doing this. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's 12 years. I began November 16th of 2006. And I found the letters in February 2006. So ever since then, we've had this weekly community meeting, and I thank you for joining us. As I bring our Tuesday night community energy with me to you, I also bring your energy back to us, to me, and then from you to the group. So I thank you for being on the call, on the YouTube. I really appreciate that. If you want to get in touch with me for any reason, questions or comments or something you'd like to discuss, I also have a YouTube channel called Chapel-in-the-Sky. Chapel in the sky with hyphens in between all the words, okay? The hyphens are necessary, and then you'll see my picture if you scroll down a little bit, and that picture was taken by my sister-in-law while I was looking at my wife. That's the love that we have for each other, so I just wanted to share that while I'm thinking of it. And if you want to get in touch with me personally, it's Chapel in the Sky, no hyphens, at AOL.com. That's Chapel in the Sky, no hyphens, at AOL.com. Chapel in the Sky because it's all technology, it's all invisible. No walls, no ceilings, no floors, no limits. It's just wherever the waves can go out and be picked up, they're available. So, okay, and then Christ also introduces, or maybe the recorder, I don't know, but there's a synopsis of each of the letters in the beginning. So this is said about what we're going to read in letter 7. In this letter, Christ describes the truth concerning the sexual act, what really takes place spiritually and physically, how children are born on different levels of consciousness. He explains men and women's place in the world order. Now, we're here to learn. Okay, this is an introduction to letter 7. I think in the original, I think it's letter 5A and 5B. 5A is the meat, and 5B is like what the recorder is introducing here. The recorder says, There's a strange, miraculous happening attached to the following letter. When letter 7 was completed, the recorder was clearly told to use the parable from Matthew 13, verse 3 as opening paragraphs, and we will get to that. A little later, it came over her powerfully to add a paragraph on page 2 marked with asterisks. Letter 7 was printed out. When collating the pages, she was astounded, shattered, to find that half of the page 1 was now taken up with the words, "I am the life, the truth, and the way," which had not been typed into the computer in that way. It appeared to be a footer for a page. That's a word processing term. A footer is something you place at the bottom of the pages. It appeared to be a footer for a page, but such a footer could only be typed in by using the precise and specific WordPerfect instructions to create a footer. And I know WordPerfect very well, very, very well, and I attest to that. All that she says about the footer is impossible for a footer. So some other modification was made is what she's implying. Furthermore, only 2 lines are normally allotted to a footer. A half page would not be a footer. Still shocked by the event, the recorder searched every file in the computer to see whether at any time she had used such a footer and forgotten it, but found nothing. A computer mechanic was called in, shown the text on the computer and the print itself, but was unable to explain how it could have happened accidentally. To this time, no one has been able to explain it. For those who may not be aware of it, this statement, "I am the life, the truth, and the way," was made by Jesus Christ when describing himself during his mission in Palestine. The text had already been quoted and explained by Christ. And she references, in my book, it's on page 309 of letter 7, but he had used the words in a different order than he originally spoke them. When you read the paragraphs marked with the asterisks in conjunction with the footer, they will undoubtedly take on new meaning for you because they are obviously linked. First of all, the wording of paragraph asterisks was energetically dictated and typed on the computer. And at some time immediately afterwards, the footer was added to the bottom of the first page. When she left it, it didn't look the way she left it. Another mystery, how it is that this footer was not noticed at the time of the printing. The recorder lives alone. No one else could have had access to the computer. The recorder regards this intervention and contravention of WordPerfect procedures as Christ's own personal signature, something he might have done when on earth. This is say, "I'm real, I'm here." Okay, so now we go into letter 7. I'll show you what the page looks like in the original. So in the original manuscript, this is what she's talking about. All of this, my belief is when she went to bed that night, or whenever she stopped working on it and had printed it, this did not look like this at all. It's like these words, "I am the life, the truth, and the way," Christ really wanted to draw our attention to it. And for that reason, she believes, I believe, I'm right with her, I believe also that Christ did this so that, like she did the formatting, but Christ was like, I'm gonna take this and do this with it. It's something that she couldn't do anyway. I mean, there are ways of doing it in WordPerfect, but it's not a very professional way of doing it, because then if you adjust the page at all, you have to adjust all the other stuff. A footer is just, it's there, and if it goes on to the next page, it's the footer of the next page. So enough of WordPerfect, but just want to feel that, back in the days, I don't know how long you've been with the letters, but I've been with them since 2006. And so back in those early days, as wonderful as I understand them and everything, there was a difference. There was a community. I was in communion with the recorder, person to person through emails. And we had very nice, honest, open, authentic conversations. And there was just an energy. There was a community then. That community has dissipated. I don't know what's happened to it. I know the recorder has been ill, and that may be why there's not that bonding. But there are many other communities, which is what Christ wanted. Christ wanted many little communities, not big churches, although it can work in big churches too. But Christ wants just little communities of a few people that we can really be intimate and honest and authentic. And as we learn to do it in our small community with one another, boom, we take that out into our world. So I apologize. I will try to read more and talk less. Christ returns, reveals startling truth, letter 7. Again, this is I, the Christ, who have come to you. Through this letter to whomever can receive my words. The following parable is as applicable to your modern era as it was to the times of the Jews 2,000 years ago. I commend its truth to you who read these letters. A sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured them. Other seeds fell on rocky ground, where they had not much soil, and immediately they sprang up, since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched and withered away. Other seeds fell upon the thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on good soil and brought forth grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Hear then the meaning of the parable of the sower. And then comes, in later editions, it's not showing it the way as in the original manuscript. That shows how difficult it is to make it work. That's why we're all enamored that it had to be the Christ that did it. So anyway, at the bottom of that first page of letter 7, it says, I am the life, the truth, and the way. Excuse me. When anyone hears the message regarding the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one, the selfhood, and we had discussion around that in our Tuesday night call, snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is what was sown along the path. As for what was sown on rocky ground, this is he who hears the message and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no root in himself, but endures for a while, and when tribulation or persecutions come on account of the message, immediately he falls away. As for what was sown among the thorns, this is he who hears the message, but the cares of the world and the delight in riches choke the message, and it bears no fruit. As for what was sown on good soil, this is he who hears and receives the message and understands it. He indeed bears fruit and yields, in one case 100-fold, in another 60, another 30. Matthew 13, verse 3. Asterisk paragraph. My purpose in sharing this knowledge of the truth of being with you in these letters is to enable you to grow in spiritual love and wisdom and bring forth the fruits and blessings of such spiritual love and wisdom in your every moment of evolving consciousness. I long for you to be richly blessed or joyful, richly joyful. Therefore, where two more are gathered in my name, there is Christ in the midst, okay? Therefore, let us together plow into your human soil of consciousness. Turn it over. Get rid of the stones of despair. Break down the clods of non-comprehension with deepening wisdom. Pull out the weeds of your negative mental, emotional patterns with my help. Fertilize your soil of consciousness with ever-increasing faith. Then sow ever more beautiful seeds born of your evolving spiritual perceptions and unconditional love. My joy will be your joy in this endeavor, and your joy will be added to my joy. In this unity of purpose and achievement, you will eventually feel that you are indeed of my spirit, and my spirit is being poured into you. In this way, we will experience the oneness of that out of which we have both taken our individuality. My thoughts become your thoughts, untainted by your former ego consciousness. Wow. I'm going to reread that. So Christ has read this, the sower and the seed, and told us about how to prepare our minds for the good seed, okay? If we have a busy mind, that's why the stillness and silence is where it's the only place where creation can come from, at least begin, okay? Because with that noisy mind chattering, we don't have the focus on what we want or what we want to manifest. So we've read all this, we've learned how to prepare, that's why meditation is so important in this whole teaching. Grace emphasizes over and over the importance of meditation on these words so we can own them, so they take seat, that they come into fruition right within our own being. So I'm going to read Christ's message again to us, and please take this very personally. Christ came to speak to us directly. Remember, I read that in the introduction. Came to speak to us directly, and this is how he's doing it through these letters. My purpose in sharing this knowledge of the truth and being with you in these letters is to enable you to grow in spiritual love and wisdom, and bring forth the fruits and blessings of such spiritual love and wisdom in your everyday moment of evolving consciousness. I long for you to be richly joyful. Therefore, let us together plow into your human soil of consciousness. Turn it over. Get rid of the stones of despair. Break down the clods of non-comprehension with deepening wisdom. Pull out the weeds of your negative mental, emotional patterns with my help. Fertilize your soil of consciousness with ever-increasing faith. Then, as our mind is prepared, sow ever more beautiful seeds born of your evolving spiritual perceptions and unconditional love. My joy will be your joy in this endeavor, and your joy will be added to my joy. Bring more joy into the human consciousness. In this unity of purpose and achievement, you will eventually feel that you are indeed of my spirit, and my spirit is being poured into you. In this way, we, Christ as us, we will experience the oneness of that out of which we have both taken our individuality. My thoughts become your thoughts, untainted by your former ego consciousness. That's the purity of the stillness and silence, so we can hear the heart speak. I've described the process, the path along which you will travel to achieve your most sublime and perfect heart's desires. And so I say to you, although this letter may be difficult to accept at first, and may require time and effort to fully understand. It is a strong link between your consciousness and mine. In my transcendent state, I can do more for you when you call upon me than I could if I were to return to earth in a physical body, when you might see me with your eyes and hear me with your ears, but your understanding of truth of being might be limited. We have to use our imagination, and that's the only thing that limits God is our concept of it. The higher concept I can have of it. This is why Jesus spoke of love, of God of love, because you want to tear away that old concept that can't be true. You know, God can't have favorites. And anyway, that's a whole other story. So I don't remember where I stopped, so I'm going to go back. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going to reread the paragraph that I last read, I believe. In my transcendent state, I can do more for you when you call upon me than I could if I were to return to earth in a physical body, when you might see me with your eyes and hear me with your ears, but your understanding of the truth of being might be limited. I mean, look what's happened to the four Gospels. In this mode of contact with your consciousness, you can receive me direct into your mind and heart when the preconditions to such contact have been fulfilled. Again, in that communion of meditation, communion in meditation, yeah. In this mode of contact with your consciousness, you can receive me direct into your mind and heart when the preconditions to such contact have been fulfilled. I just have to let all the others go. If I tell you truly, the more time and meditation you devote to these letters, the more will it become possible for you to receive higher inspiration and instruction from me personally. Because with every reading of these letters, the more will your own frequencies of consciousness be raised toward my higher consciousness frequencies. And eventually, we will be able to reach a true meeting place of consciousness. Then, abundant will be the fruitage in your life. And the abundance of fruitage in my life is incredible peace, love of everyone, even people that don't like me, I still love them. They show me something about myself that I can work on or not work on or feel it's just the way they see me, which is not the way I am, because I know the difference. We all know that, don't we? Okay, to explain why this is so, I must tell you that my consciousness descends through many differing planes of vibrational frequencies of consciousness to meet the needs of those seeking help and inspiration. Remember, you said that whenever we want something and send it out in meditation, it goes out like a searchlight out into the universe. And everything that is needed to fulfill whatever that desire or question or problem or conflict, whatever it is, everything that meets the needs to satisfy that in the fullness and wholeness that I have sought is automatically attracted back to me. So to explain why this is so, I must tell you that my consciousness descends through many differing planes of vibrational frequencies of consciousness to meet the needs of those seeking help and inspiration. I just heard I'm reading too fast. The many differing planes of consciousness my consciousness passes through are all distinct from each other. Each level of consciousness frequencies creates and manifests. Each has different conditions of existence. Since the highest and lowest vibrational frequencies of consciousness are produced by the highest or lowest spiritual, mental, emotional patterns or forms of consciousness. By high and low patterns, I mean those which are closest and furthest from divine consciousness intent. As you know, each frequency vibration of sound waves produces its own unique and individual note and tone. Similarly, habitual mental emotional thought forms produce their own vibrational frequencies in consciousness, and these in turn produce the outer conditions in which that consciousness resides. The higher the frequencies of vibration of consciousness, the more beautiful, harmonious, joyous, and fulfilled are the lives of those who reside within those frequencies. The higher the frequencies of vibration of consciousness, the more beautiful, harmonious, joyous, and fulfilled are the lives of those who reside within those frequencies. It's all energy. The lower the frequencies, the more harsh, bitter, acrid, and miserable are the lives of those who resonate to such frequencies. Their lives are punctuated with disasters, deprivation, and brutality. The higher the frequency of vibration of consciousness, the more spiritually loving and beautiful are the thoughts, the creative imagination, the ideals and beauty of color and life forms. For they are rising closer and closer to the dimension of universal consciousness, where the frequencies have become so heightened as to level out and enter into powerful equilibrium, the all power of universal consciousness, the source of all being, love. And this is where we ended last week, so I'm going to end there tonight, and we will begin there next week. So thank you for joining me and us in this time. I bring the blessings of our Tuesday community of Christ's Way to you, as I bring yours back to our community when we next meet the next Tuesday. So again, let this be the year for peace. I created a YouTube this morning, and it's called A Bigger God. And so I'm still attempting to put a message out there for all to hear and say, this is making sense. It's time to get away from God being an entity to God being everywhere present and being everything that is. We are that from which all have come. God bless you. Namaste. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, week, month, year, lifetime. God bless.